Usually when you think of beginner enemies, you would think of ones that don't really act as a constant threat, or ones that aren't as aggressive compared to late game ones, right? Well, that can't always be said for every game, especially in roguelike games. I think Nullscape has the perfect enemy to teach you the movement of the game and how to use it to its fullest potential. And that enemy, in my opinion, is the Skinwalker. Skinwalker acts as a constant threat that mimics your every move, and I mean every move. Now, once you get used to the movement, right, dealing with it becomes a breeze, and even if you aren't adjusted to the movement yet, Skinwalkers aren't really that hard to deal with, especially considering that it always moves at your speed, which means you can walk and stuff, and well, the Skinwalker will walk too, right? It mimics your movement. But how exactly does it teach you the best way to utilize movement in the game? See, Skinwalker can only kill you by making physical contact with you, so you could just jump over it and continue on your way, right? Well, you could end up getting a curse like faster Skinwalker or taller Skinwalker, which can make it slightly harder for the average player to maneuver around them. So, what do? You use the tile spacings as a way to loop around them. Skinwalkers will always follow the same path you make, so you can just loop around it and use the sides to your advantage to not run into it. There are other modifiers that could increase the risk, like triple Skinwalker, which does exactly what it says. And even then, you can still continuously get Skinwalker as an enemy too, and it will, stack upon each other. They don't all follow you at once. Instead, the additional Skinwalker will follow the Skinwalker in front of them, and so on, like a conga line. It's never usually a good idea to add Skinwalkers unless you want the conga line badge, which you need to have at least 15 Skinwalkers for in order to get, which is pretty insane, and it can be rather tedious to try and unlock, especially considering that there could be other players who just sell and suck. Now, if you do have an absurd amount of Skinwalkers chasing you, well then it can be beneficial to help unlock your inner Nullscaper and see different routes and paths you could take to lead the Skinwalkers in a direction that could help you get out of your conundrum. Most notably, just hugging the sides of tiles and praying the Skinwalkers don't touch you, especially in dead zones. And if you want to be even more careful, you can always just walk slow, so slow them down, so that way you can maneuver them even better. That's assuming there isn't something, worse coming after you, like Baby or ICBM, as you don't always have to rush to try and get gifts unless it's when all of them are collected, right? And you want to greed for golden gifts, right? Which I'll be making a video about greeding soon. And once you get the hang of dealing with Skinwalker, in future runs you're going to eventually use these tactics from dealing with Skinwalker to help yourself maneuver around other annoying enemies that try to interrupt your gift-grabbing fun. But with all that said, overall, I think Skinwalker is a very fun enemy to play around with, and definitely isn't as bad as people say it is, because he's really easy to deal with, at least in my eyes. There's not that much of a struggle with him. The only time he really becomes tedious is when there's an excessive amount of enemies, but at the end of the day, that's not mostly just him, it's because of the rambunctious amount of enemies that are on the playing field. You can't really complain that he's bad if you're just gonna use the idea that, oh, well, with a bunch of other enemies he becomes even worse. You can say that for pretty much every other enemy. But yeah, I think he's perfectly fine. Unless there's like a billion of them, though, because then that can be rather annoying. But even then, I still think it's pretty fun to try and juke them out and, play around them. It's fun. It's just fun. But when there's a tedious amount of enemies like Flesh or, again, ICBM or Mart, when he's on Mart's slide, that curse, because the Mart slide curse is pretty goofy, in my opinion. It can kind of mess you up sometimes when you least expect it, because, like, dude, I swear to God, it always hits me at the most random times. It's so terrifying. And then there could be also like an enemy like Nil, so I guess walking against a Skinwalker isn't always the best idea if you have Nil on, because then Nil could just come out of nowhere and snipe you, which really sucks. But yeah, that's all that I can think about Skinwalker. And I really like the new design for him too. He looks pretty freaking scary and janky. The way he runs is extremely funny. And I like the new modifiers for him, especially this one. Oh. it just puts him in your face. I love that. That's a present Skinwalker, which I think is extremely funny. But yeah, thanks for watching, and see ya.